Hello and welcome to Let's Get Intimate. Today we're going to be answering the question of what is embodiment and how it can help you in your life. And the expert is Jocelyn. So Jocelyn Dials is an expert in embodiment. She works specifically with women in embodiment work. So I wanted to ask her a little bit of some questions to get a sense of what embodiment is. So Jocelyn, what is your definition of embodiment?
Yeah, well, embodiment it's kind of become like a fad, right? Maybe yeah, like there's all kinds of women teaching embodiment out there, and basically what is it, like connecting to the body? What did you say? You have a definition of embodiment. What does it say when someone Googles embodiment? What?
So actually the definition I got from Google is embodiment is to be an expression of or to give a tangible or visible form to a feeling, quality, or idea.
What the heck is that? An idea?
Yeah, I mean, I found it to be very vague, and I was like, okay, that's kind of interesting that is like Google's dictionary.
I mean, that's
That
a computer, right? I'm a
I'm
computer.
still trying to figure out what it means,
It's
and
it's
that was the most like comprehensive meaning that I got.
That's crazy. And the funny thing is, like, whoever put that on there probably is a computer person. I don't know, but definitely not someone who's ever felt their bodies. Um, but it's a good question. And people often are like, oh yeah, I tell them I'm an embodiment coach, and they're like, what's that? And I'm like, it's connecting to the body, and like how much time do I spend explaining to you what I mean by embodiment? So here we go. Let's see. I have tried to find other words instead of embodiment that's more clear, but I feel like embodiment is the most clear because embodiment in the body. So being embodied is experiencing the body, experiencing the experience of the body. So when I'm not embodied, I'm thinking, planning, scheduling, worrying, in fear. I'm in my head. I'm up here. I'm above the shoulders. And um, when I'm in my body, I'm experiencing my breath. I'm feeling sensations. If I'm in my body and I'm feeling angry, I notice I'm a little shaky. My heart is pounding really hard. My body wants to throw itself at the object of my anger. So being embodied, like the simple definition I would say is being in the experience of the body. What are the sensations that are happening? I didn't even realize, like, I learned about embodiment as a term that seems to fit what my experience of life already was. So, like, I started doing authentic relating. Have you ever done authentic relating?
I no, I've heard about it from you, but I don't know anything about it, to be honest.
Okay. I really love authentic relating because it gives people a chance to be totally honest about what they're feeling. Like you can be in a group of people and say, I'm noticing I'm feeling really attracted to you right now. It doesn't mean I'm hitting on you. It doesn't mean I want anything from you, but I feel safe saying, I'm noticing a really strong attraction.
Wow.
Yeah, it's great. Like it's a great opportunity for people to be courageous and to speak what they're feeling. And when I became introduced to authentic relating, I was like, this is so great because it gives me a space to communicate in the way that works for me. Because when it comes to emotions and explaining what's going on for me, I really struggle with that. I struggle to say, this emotion is this. I used to have an emotion wheel on my refrigerator. And I was like, okay, so I can use this to explain what I'm feeling. But I couldn't memorize all of those words, like going up to the head to say, okay, I think, what is it that I'm feeling? I think maybe irritable matches. But instead, what I really liked worked in authentic relating. I would be talking to a roommate who did authentic relating, and I was like, I don't know what's really happening, but right now, as we're talking, I'm feeling like a fluttering in my chest and this excitement, kind of like I want to bounce up and down. I'm going to bounce up and down. And I would like start explaining the sensations in my body. And he thought it was really funny, but he was like, it actually really helps me understand what's going on for you when you say that. And so I started doing that more because I was like, oh, like, that's not weird with the authentic relating people or community. And I started doing that more and more. And then I started to realize this embodiment term was teaching people how to do this. And I was like, oh, that's a thing that I just do that makes me feel more capable of expressing my experience to someone. If I'm trying to have a deep conversation with them and I'm trying to communicate something, I can just describe the sensations that I'm noticing in my body. I'm noticing that my breath was really long and full before we had this conversation. And now I'm noticing that my breath is really short and it gets stuck at my chest.
Would you say that embodiment also has a component of being fully present in your body?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, in order to feel the experience of what's happening, you have to slow down the mind a little, right? Not completely. I'm not a Zen master. But you have to be able to come into the moment and notice the fact that, oh, I'm quieting down enough that I can feel my heartbeat. Or to notice, oh, I am shaky right now. My breath is short right now. And normally when I feel calm, my breath is long and relaxed. So if I'm having a really important conversation with someone that I care about and I'm noticing my breath is becoming restricted, then maybe we should pause the conversation and return to it another time when I can be sure I'm relaxed and in a receptive state. So I can trust that this conversation is going to be really good for both of us. So to me, embodiment is knowing your body really well and having that guide you, right? Like in that conversation, if I'm having a really important conversation with someone and I notice my breath is becoming more constricted, this conversation is really important to me. But I also know that when my breath is really constricted, I'm not listening as well and I'm not as receptive. And so I'm going to listen to my body and say, it seems like maybe it's time for us to take a pause and return to this conversation another time. Or maybe we just need to cuddle. Maybe we just need to hold each other. Maybe we just need a hug. Maybe it's not an intimate relationship. Maybe let's hug and go for a walk. I could just need to get a breath of fresh air, who knows?
Right.
But it's using the body as a guide to be able to move forward in life in a way that we can trust ourselves.
I really like that.
Yeah.
That's very clear for me. So
Oh, good.
So I'm also curious, like, what would an embodiment session with you look like? Like, what sort of things do you do?
Well, I'm an embodiment coach, mentor, guide, whatever word works for you. Um, so there's some talking, right? Like I do, it helps me to understand what's going on in the woman's life, what she's dealing with, you know, obviously share as much as she feels comfortable with, but usually by the time a woman decides to work with me, she really trusts me. She really trusts me. And so she shares the really important stuff. And so, you know, we kind of get to it. They share. And for me, my biggest thing is to not project. And it's so interesting when we share our stories with each other, how we find ourselves in each story, right? It's like, oh, I've been there. Oh, I totally hear you. Oh, I feel, you know, like I can totally get my stuff in there. And and so I ask questions to help get really clear on where she's at and her role in what's happening and the roles around her and how she views it and her history and whatever questions come up. I always, you know, call in my guides to support the process as well. So I'm not, you know, just trying to do it on my own. This is something that I think is greater than all of us. But I ask a lot of questions to get clear. And but yeah, but mostly the core of this work is the guided practice. And you know, it can, there are tools that I really love to use to help build a relationship with the body. The breath is the main thing, right? I love the breath. The breath, the voice, making sounds, clearing the throat chakra. Really, the breath is great because you can feel the vibration of sound. So that's a great way to begin to experience vibration in your body. And it shows us a lot because a lot of people cannot make sounds in a way that feels safe. You know, maybe I'll say, you know, I'll invite them to make a sound or something, and I'll do it with them. You know, I never leave anyone hanging alone. So it's like, and you know, it might be for someone who's just starting this work, you know, really quiet. That was me.
I noticed when I first started doing embodiment work, like a lot of sounds would be very quiet. Like it's almost like it would feel cut off energetically, like I couldn't continue. There
Yeah.
was a part that had been completely cut off. And I was like, oh, this is interesting. Like I would think that I'd be completely fine, but I wasn't. There was definitely some blockage there. So I love that you're bringing that up. Like a lot of times we don't even notice how we can block things and like certain noises won't be able to come out.
Yeah. Yeah, that was me with like high noises. I always liked the deep ones that were low, right? Like the, but like going high, I couldn't, because I had a voice coach. She really helped me open my throat chakra. And it was interesting because, you know, I couldn't make sounds without my throat locking up, like literally feeling like I was being choked. I had to lay down on the floor and I could make sounds for, you know, 5 to 10 minutes and then we'd have to stop. And it took me a couple weeks to be able to do it where I could sit up doing it. And I needed her to close her eyes when we practiced together. I couldn't do it with her watching me. So it was really interesting. And usually the days that we would do our voice lessons, it was like almost like not okay, not a trauma response, but like I'd feel very emotional, very sensitive, and very drained. And I would stay home and do a lot of nurturing, self-nurturing care. So the voice is not something that we go to right away, but it's a tool. It's something that I use. Also the heartbeat. A lot of people can't feel their heartbeat, but when prompted or guided, they can come to where they actually feel their heartbeat. But just coming into the heart, we can feel the breath coming into the chest. We can work with our breasts. Massaging the breasts is a huge thing. All of my clients will be given the homework to start doing breast massage.
So with the breast massage, how is that connected to the voice? Or is that is that something that's separate to get into your body?
They're different. I mean, obviously everything is connected in some way, but the breasts are over the heart, the breasts on the chest, over the heart. And what I notice is that when we do, a lot of women have lots of cysts in their breasts. And so they don't want to touch their breasts. And that's how I was. My boobs have shrunk a lot over the last 20 years. So it's just skin. But when I was a teenager and in my early 20s, I had 34Ds and my breasts were filled with cysts. And then my boobs shrunk, but the cysts didn't go away. And I've talked to a lot of women who don't like to touch their breasts because of the cysts. It's scary. And then the doctor says you have to do breast massage, or not breast massage, sorry, your breast exam, and not to worry about the cysts. They're normal, just if it doesn't move, but cysts will move around when you do the, but we all like, ugh, right? Ugh. What does that even mean? No one wants to touch their breasts. So for me, one, touching your breast is a form of self-love. Touch yourself. Get used to love your body. It is what it is. It's here. This is the vessel that carries your soul in this world. And there's no reason why you shouldn't have 120% love, gratitude, and appreciation for this body and care for this body. So, so I actually did a video on YouTube on breast massage and how to break up the cysts. So one day I was massaging my breasts and I, being a massage therapist, I was like becoming really interested and I was working on these cysts and I noticed, like I was pushing them off my ribs. They can get stuck on the ribs. After like 2 hours, I massaged them all out. I was
Wow.
like, okay, so let's see if I get sick. And I didn't get sick. I didn't have any kind of reaction in my body. Um, I shook them a lot. I think shaking your breasts is great. It loosens the fascia. It moves the lymph in the armpits. I think it's really healthy to do to shake your breasts. But basically, I got rid of the cysts. This was like a tangent story. But the point I'm trying to make is I think our breasts become armoring over our heart. They get
Yes.
hard and they get neglected and they don't get touched. And we hunch our shoulders forward, especially if we have big breasts. We hunch our shoulders forward and we close our heart with our breasts. So doing the breast massage teaches women, one, when you do a breast massage, you do have to stick your chest out a bit to do a proper breast massage. So you open the chest, you loosen the fascia over your breast, you lead with your heart, you lead with your chest, you bring sensation into the breast. If I bring my awareness to my nipples, I can feel my nipples come alive. So we bring sensation to the nipples, we bring sensation to the breasts, the nipples begin to pop out a bit more, which a lot of people are embarrassed about. I think it is incredibly sexy to see a woman's nipples. And with the women I've worked with, they do too, that, they feel sexier. They're like, my nipples show and my breasts feel soft and I, they love it. And so it opens the heart. And when we open the heart, we soften, we let our armoring go. We're not so defensive, and we become more receptive. We become more in our feminine, more receptive, more surrendering, sexier. We feel sexy. We feel more alive. And so that's a big piece of embodiment. Also, just to feel like the woman that I am.
Right. So this is a great segue into the next question, which is like, how does embodiment like benefit you? Like, what are the benefits of being in your body and doing this work?
Well, before we go to that, there's one other part that I wanted to bring awareness to is the womb. So with the embodiment sessions, what I do with the clients is I also bring awareness that we work with the womb. So, like when we do a session, we usually start with the heart or with the breath, sorry, and then the breath will lead us around the body, lead us into different sensations. And then we ask questions, right? Like sometimes we'll go into the womb. Can you feel your womb? Can you expand your womb? So the womb is a big piece of embodiment also. I don't want to let that one be left out. And then, but just to finish up on the part of the question you asked me about working with the client, is it's an exploration. It's an exploration of what are you feeling based off of what you told me, right? So we go into the body, we explore the feeling, we come into deep relaxation, or whatever happens, but the side effect is usually deep relaxation. And then I trigger you. I use whatever information you give me, and I trigger you. And what happens is the triggers don't trigger. What happens is information comes through. They're put into this really beautiful connected space with their bodies. And then I ask questions that come to me based on what was shared before. And they're able to see what happens in their body, what reacts, what responds without having the triggered reaction. And so we get a lot of information, and they're able to break a lot of the mental patterns attached to that stuff. And so a lot of the things like the holding grudges or the being stuck, that kind of breaks apart, because we get out of our head and our story and our ego and actually experience what's happening in the body and allow it to be there and to move. And so that's actually, yeah, so that would be why. What did you ask? How does it benefit?
Yeah, like what's the benefit of doing this work, being in your body?
Yeah, so that's the thing, being able to break through these mental patterns that hold us back. We become more courageous because we feel safer in moving forward with something. We're able to surrender to what's happening in the moment, regardless of what it is. We can surrender to what's happening in the moment because we're connected to our body. We're connected to something that functions at a really high level, at a greater level, something that's still not completely understood. It really connects us to something that is greater than the ego. And we are able to build trust in ourselves, trust in our ability to make decisions, because we become more intuitive decision making. We become more grounded, more connected to the earth because we're connected to our bodies, and we actually experience our body's connection to the earth, the pulsing of the heart and the pulsing of the mother, the breath that just every single time comes back. You can exhale deeply and keep exhaling, but at some point it's going to come back. You don't have to make yourself inhale. So it really helps build that deep trust in life, in our purpose here. I think it also helps us realize that we're not in control. We know that having the illusion of control, right? But my body is functioning on its own. Mothers don't do anything to create a baby inside of them. It just happens.
Right.
And then the birthing process, a lot of Western medicine tries to make people think that they need help, but the birthing process happens on its own. You don't even need to push. The pushing happens on its own.
Yeah, especially when you're connected with your body, because your body will give you instructions of what to do. And if you're really connected and you're really understanding what's happening, you can just follow your body's instructions, right?
Right. You just surrender. You just surrender and you breathe. You just follow your breath and you find the sensuality in the sensation of the breath and
Mm.
let that lead you. And so for me, I found since I've really dedicated my life to trusting my connection to my body, that there's less responsibility. It's not so scary. Making decisions isn't scary because I don't have to make the decisions. It just naturally flows and I
Mm.
know what to do. And I don't really
Would you
ever question myself.
would you say that you're much more intuitively guided when you have that sense of connection?
Yeah, I don't know. I think we're all intuitively guided, whether we realize it or not. We have a karmic path,
Right,
right?
but what I mean is that you can really hear those inner promptings.
Yeah, I think so. I
Like
think, sorry, go ahead.
so when making a decision, you can now hear those inner promptings and like you are flowing because now you know what to do because you're getting that inner guidance.
Yeah. Yeah. And I wouldn't say, it mentally translates. Like I know. Like I can explain to you the knowing. No, it's a matter of having of knowing that my trust is 100%. There's no doubt. There's no doubt in the trust that I have. And it's not easy. It's a practice, right? Like I always have to remind myself, just trust the process. Everything is okay. You're connected, do the piece that you know to do. And in my life, I've been doing this long enough that I've seen if I do the piece that I know to do, if I come to the breath, if I do the simple work, then everything is always amazing. My life is incredible. And it's not because I was handed anything, it's because I have courage. It's because I had the courage to be guided by my intuition, by my connection to my body and to something greater, to whatever it is that's moving my body.
Mm. Mm.
And
And
for some people that's God, for some people that's a goddess, for some people that's Pachamama. For me, it's whatever. It's all of them. It's everything.
I love it. I love it. So if people want to experience a session with you, how can they contact you?
They can contact me on Instagram. They can contact me on my website. I have it's pretty clear. I have programs available, a 3-month and a 6-week as an intro for people who are really nervous about this, a 3-month and a 6-month. And so they can fill out a questionnaire and sign up to have a call with me on my website. They can find me on Instagram. I'm also on Facebook, although not as active.
Okay, so all this information will be on the show notes, like just where you can find her Instagram and her website.
Yeah, show
Awesome.
notes.
Awesome. Yay.
So that was that clear? Like, my hope is that after listening to this, people can walk away and be like, okay, so I'm digging, like I get it. I get what embodiment is. I don't want people to feel intimidated. It's to
Mhm.
me, it's simple work.
Yeah,
I'm
and I think you were very clear, and it's very much about just being in your body and like what to expect. Because I feel like if people get a sense of what to expect, it won't be this ambiguous thing like, well, what is embodiment? I don't know. Like I hear that word a lot, but I don't really quite know what it means. And what would I expect from a session?
Yeah. Well, and when people work with me, like it's hard to do on your own. It's hard to really build this relationship on your own. I've seen people try. And it's almost like they take the harder route. And my thing is ease. You know, I like an easy life. My mom is super active and she's always working out and working hard, and I'm like, hammock life, man. Let's just like take it slow, let's take it easy, let's go simple. I'll guide you. You don't have to do anything. You just listen and follow instructions. You know, I give you homework, you just do the homework. The homework's not even hard. If you do it, you're just going to notice how it shifts. But it's, you know, easy peasy.
Love it. All right, so I want to thank you, Jocelyn, for answering those questions and giving us a taste of what an embodiment session looks like. And I want to thank our audience for listening in, and stay tuned to other future episodes for, again, juicy content. Next episode will be on understanding men and how men operate in communication. So stay tuned.
So excited. All right, bye. Bye, y'all.